Hey, welcome back to Founder Get Your Life Back. I'm your host, Jennifer Todd, your profit and performance expert. Today's episode, we're going to talk all about the identity crisis that's probably keeping you stuck in the weeds and how you're going to be empowered to choose your own path and really commit to it and figure out how to get unstuck in your business. One of the things I've learned in being a founder for over 20 years inside of a business that I've been being kind to myself and saying that I outgrew my role, but in reality, I don't think I ever fully committed to the role of tax lady in my CPA firm. And I don't think I ever really enjoyed it. And I think that's because it was a stressful type of work. And I never really felt like I was a master of the work. However, I had a hard time committing to something I didn't love. And so I think for many, many years, I spent my career building a business that I didn't love because I didn't love the work. And so when you're in that position, oftentimes you have the struggle that you want to build a business that runs without you because you don't love the work. You don't love the offer. Or you have this desire to hire people under you to be the technical experts and you will just be the CEO. When you're a subject matter expert, like an accountant like myself, or a engineer or software developer, medical professional, whatever it is, you will find that it's really easy to burn out on project-based work. It's really easy to burn out on one-to-one appointment type work. And so if it's not a labor of love, it's really hard to stay connected to your business that you've built. What I'm going to talk about today is how we often find ourselves stuck in this role that we don't love with maybe an offer that we don't love. And that definitely keeps us stuck in the weeds. It keeps us building businesses that burn us out and make us unhappy. And what you can do instead, and it's really practical, it's just making a choice and then figuring out how you're going to deploy your choice. When I said I outgrew my role, it wasn't really that. It was, I was a people pleaser. And I can remember when I started my business a long time ago, I want to say it was probably 2001. I set up a QuickBooks training classroom. Actually, in the beginning, it was Peachtree. And I quickly learned that nobody was using Peachtree. Everybody was using QuickBooks. And everybody wanted to learn how to use it because it was confusing to people that were not CPAs. So I actually bought, I want to say it was 8 big Dell desktop computers, and I had my little laptop and I had a projector, and I taught QuickBooks classes to people that didn't know how to use QuickBooks, to business owners. Well, that was a natural segue into people wanting me to do their bookkeeping and do their taxes. And I really did not love that work. Bookkeeping was okay. It was just kind of super boring, but bookkeeping was really pretty easy to do. I did not love payroll, did not love taxes. I loved the technology. I loved reverse engineering solutions for business owners and what do you need out of your software? What reports, what data do you need? Let me reverse engineer the setup of your business software so that you get what you need. And then I'll teach you how to use it. That was my business. That's what I love doing. I couldn't say no. I had a really hard time saying no to this one specific customer. And it turned into, once I said yes to the wrong type of work, tax returns, it became easier to say yes to the wrong type of work because hello, money, and everybody needs taxes. And it was just so super easy for me to just kind of say yes. And I burned out on the tax work, but not only did I have a lot of QuickBooks work, I had a lot of bookkeeping work and I had a lot of tax work. And then I had to start hiring people to fill those roles because I couldn't do it all. Well, I found out that it's difficult once you establish expertise in certain roles inside of your business to hire people and expect them to kind of step in and fill your shoes. And I found that out not only with the tax work, but also with the QuickBooks work. It was so easy for everyone just to come to me with all the questions. And I would, on autopilot, just spout them off, especially the QuickBooks stuff. The tax stuff, it was more along the lines of having to research something that my team member had already researched, but they weren't confident in their answer. So then I had to go through all the research and then I had to create an answer that I was confident in. And then we went with whatever I said. So there was a lot of wasted effort. And again, everything kept coming back to me for the final answer, no matter what it was. No matter how many certifications and how many years people had under their belt, they always defaulted back to me. And so I often think about what I was doing during that time to facilitate that type of behavior. And I think a lot of it was just operating on autopilot because I had too many customers, I had too many offers, and I was just trying to get through the day. Did that ever stop me from saying yes to that same work? No. As a matter of fact, I kept saying yes to everything that walked through the door, raised my prices, still kept saying yes, still kept creating packages and offers around that work that I didn't love. And I did that for 2 decades. And it took me looking at myself and being very, very honest about the fact that I was just not excited about the work and what was it that I really loved. And so I got back to my roots and started thinking about the reverse engineering the solutions in QuickBooks. Now, I didn't want to go back to being a QuickBooks advisor, but I do understand systems really, really well. And I understand decision making inside of businesses. And I also understand the dynamics of teams from all of my coach training and all of these things that I have been investing in over the past 5 years. So I decided it's now or never to go ahead and say no to any further tax and bookkeeping work so that I could build out capacity for me to offer the profit and performance advisory. Because I always say that the customer is the one that determines value. They're the ones that say something is valuable. This is what I'm willing to pay for it. But I got that confused with setting boundaries around what I was willing to offer. So I allowed my customer to push my limits and they created my packages and my services for me instead of me saying, no, I'm going to stay in this lane. So I'm choosing to be the technical expert as an advisor and really limit my offers. And it's bringing me so much satisfaction to be able to do that. Just today, I was interviewed by a local business publication about our podcast. And when they asked me, well, you're a CPA, do you still do taxes? Or do you still do this and that? And I said, I have tax clients, I have bookkeeping clients, but that offer is now closed because I want to make room for my profit and performance advising. And they said, well, I know if I was a business owner, I would definitely want one person doing all of that. So even someone that's not a business owner still sees that that's a convenience. And there's a couple of things I always advise people. One is less is more. So say yes to less. And two is just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. And saying no is also a kindness. How that works out is I'm going to make my clients' businesses the most profitable and most enjoyable for them, that they are going to be their bookkeeper and their tax accountants, their dream client, because their bookkeeper doesn't have to worry about them not having any money, and their tax accountant is going to know that everything is spick and span and their client is successful and all they have to do is excel in their tax services in whatever tax strategy. So I'm able to stay in my zone of genius doing the work I love to do. It's a win for my customer. They're going to have a profitable, very successful and joyful business to run. It's a win for me because I get to stay in my genius zone and not stretch myself too thin. And it's a win for the bookkeeper and the tax preparer because, again, genius zone, and they've got a profitable client. That's super easy to work with. Why would a client want to pay me to do all three things when there's no way I could do all three things really well? Wouldn't I rather them pay me what I do really well and let them pay their tax person what they do really well and their bookkeeper what they do really well? I think that's a better option for everyone. Let's talk about the choice that you need to make in your business. Every business book points to the same thing. They always glorify having a business that runs without you. And even that's part of my tagline in Founder Get Your Life Back. But that's not necessarily the end goal. And that's not really what I was thinking of when I created this podcast. because I'm not trying to even create a business that runs without me, nor am I even trying to create the business that I just run and manage a bunch of people. I'm trying to create the business I enjoy working in that fulfills me, lights me up, and keeps me in my genius zone. So, building a business that runs without you is great for the founder who wants to just be a passive investor. Okay. One that doesn't really want anything required of them outside of maybe capital and being able to sell that business when they're ready to sell it. That's a level 3 type of business owner. The second business owner is the one that's chief executive officer. That's the one that wants to manage all the things, but not necessarily be the technical expert or doing a lot of the technical work. That's fine, but you have to be able to replace yourself. If you were once the technical expert, you have to be able to afford to pay another technical expert who's just as good as you or better to do what you do. So that requires scaling. And then there's the type of founder that I am, and a lot of my clients are, and they're the ones that want to stay in their zone of genius. They want to do the technical work and they want to be able to afford to pay everybody else to do all the other stuff, like building the business or doing sales or doing the IT or, all the other things. That founder doesn't necessarily need to make as much gross revenue. They don't necessarily have to work harder to do that because most of the time they have a smaller footprint in their business. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying, as a founder who's stuck in the weeds, you're likely doing both 1 and 2, which means you're likely the technical expert that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting and delivery of services. And you're also probably doing a lot more as far as managing people that you wish would step into the role a little bit more, would maybe be a technical expert that you could hand off pieces of your job, if not all of what you're doing. You are likely not that person who's number 3, which is just wanting passive income and just wanting a business that runs without you. If you're a chief everything officer, right? When you're doing all the things. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to be in the weeds, the technical expert, but making enough to pay for the auxiliary roles that support building your business because you won't probably have a lot of time for that? Or do you want to be this CEO, chief executive officer that has a lot of people working under them or more people, more subject matter experts working under them? Maybe they have more offers. Maybe they have bigger teams. That's fine if you want to do that. But we have to empower the team to make decisions for themselves. Or do you want to be that hands-off investor and just be able to walk away? You're building something sellable. We have to also keep in mind founder number 3, who is building a sellable business, because eventually one day we have to sell our business. We have to be able to retire. We often don't think about that. Or if we're number 2, where we are a leader and a mentor, we were once the technical expert, but now we have technical experts working in the business alongside us or doing most of the heavy lifting. We still need to be worrying about who's going to buy this business. So we still have to build that. We cannot focus our energy on the end in mind if we're doing the technical expertise plus running teams plus doing all the other things. We just don't have enough bandwidth to do all 3. So my question for you today, founder, is which one of these 3 do you really want to be in? And you don't necessarily have to answer that today, but do you want to be in the weeds? It's good if you do, because you're already good at what you do. We just have to figure out how to make it more profitable for you so that you can pay people to help you run the business and do all the things that aren't your genius zone. Or do you want to be number 2, chief executive officer, that manages people, has teams, has departments, and leverages the expertise inside their business? Or do you want to be the owner investor that just gets a K1 once a year for tax season? If you made it this far in this episode, thank you for listening. It just took me way too long to figure this out. And I hope that you are faster at figuring out where you want to be. And guess what? It's never a permanent decision, because eventually I probably will want to be founder number two, the chief executive officer, once I've outgrown the role of advisor. I'm thinking that's going to happen before I retire. So I will eventually probably move to owner number two, chief executive officer, where I have people that I'm mentoring under me so that I can eventually sell my business. Maybe I'll be mentoring and bringing up my successors. And so that's probably the big picture for me. So what is your big picture? Text it to me at 1-804-599-4400 and let me know. And if you don't know, going to invite you to schedule a strategy session with me. I can help coach you into figuring out what it is you really want. We can go through a 90-minute session and we can really get down to what it is that you love doing and talk more about that. I also would strongly suggest we focus on strengths, because what is it that you're really good at? I never knew what I was good at. I was so stuck in the weeds doing the wrong stuff and trying to fit a square peg in a round hole that I struggled a lot. And it took, like I said, becoming a coach, you get coached a lot. And it took all of that intensive coaching and then through Gallup, Clifton Strengths Finder for me to see that it was all strategic. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense now. Everything's falling into place. If you're stuck in the weeds, pick one, two, or three, and then own it and build it. And you will get out of the weeds, founder. It's time to get your life back and build the business that you really want. Thanks for joining me today on Founder Get Your Life Back.